there and welcome back to RedStone Productions. With this brand new year I have something really cool to show you. I basically changed the whole layout of the studio in order to implement some new pieces of gear. So what I did is actually I purchased 2 more of these side racks from Thomann itself. I can mount up to 16 racks into each one of these, and my basic idea was let's just divide the gear based on what purpose they have. If we move to the very left, down there, that's where I stacked all of the mic pre's. As you probably remember from the past videos, we have 2 1073s from AMS Neve, 2 Avalons, 2 Overstayers, 2 ARTs, 10 different Odeon preamps, and even a Blue Robbie, a really nice tube-based preamp. We also enlarged the amount of mic pre's and audio interfaces by acquiring an Apollo 8P. So whenever we're doing remote recordings and we want to record up to 16, we can just slide in the ASP from Odeon into this rack where the blank spot is, and got up to 16 studio quality preamps built into a nice 3 Unity Rex fly case. We also purchased a really nice Audio-Technica turntable. The idea behind that is we finally released the first records for Strainful Train, number 4 on vinyl, and I wanted to get a pretty cool, decent turntable to check the test presses. And that turned out to be extremely affordable and also pretty good in quality once you change the actual cartridge on it. If we move to the second rack over here, you can see that everything is still having its own power supply, which is basically kind of stabilizing the current in here, and if there are any spikes, it's kind of catching those. So I don't see any ground loops or any weird noises or buzzes or any ums. So these guys are doing a pretty decent job at that. If we move to the second rack, we will find our tiny telephone Bantam patch base. You can access every single piece of equipment we have in the studio. Followed by our Lexicon time-based effects, a headphone amplifier, a Universal Audio 2192 where we always print or mix into, a Fireface 802, our main interface, and to it is slaved an Apogee Symphony I/O. On the very bottom, what we also brought into the picture is a really nice 16 tie lines panel, so we can interface any external piece of gear that anybody might move into the studio just by plugging into that, and then it shows up onto the patch bay. The other really nice story here is I wanted to divide the filters and EQs from the dynamics. So what I did is I put all my mixing EQs into here and all my mixing dynamics onto this very last rack. We start from the top over here. We have a couple of channels of 8803. These are coming from the 88RS console. Really nice and tasty filters for mixdown. 2 pretty affordable Clock Technique Pultec style EQs and an IGS rubber bands. That's a stereo Pultec from the Polish brand. Down here we got a really addictive piece of gear. Watch out for the guys that actually have D0 plugin on hardware based. This is a very addictive piece of gear, but it sounds pretty beautiful when used just gently. If we move to the very last rack over here, what we will find is our trusted Stam Audio 4000. That's an SSL bus compressor recreation. Then we'll find a Warm Audio 1176, a Stam Audio 1176 Blue Stripe, followed by an old school DBX 160 XT, still made in the US, and then 3 LA2A style compressors. So we got a WA2A from Warm Audio and 2 Clark Technics KT2A. All of them in conjunction, they work really well on single sources. The really cool thing about this setup is that it allows me to have my mastering gear always at ease, disposable from the sweet spot. If we move over here, we can see that we still have the Alsmart C2, the dual mono stereo SSL bus compressor from Alsmart, really sweet. Dual mono Summit Audio pull style EQs, extremely good sounding. An SPL MS mastering matrix, so this is allowing us to insert EQs or dynamics on the mid or side information of the program material. We still have our trusted SSL X desk, hubbing the whole studio, and everything, again, it's pretty much centered around this desk and the patch bay on my right-hand side. Plus, on the very left, we got some really cool new pieces of gear. So here we have a trusted Varimute compressor. It's a standard for mastering studios, and even if you're barely moving the needle, so you're barely compressing anything, it's still gonna give its own mojo to your program material. It's not made for every program material, but whenever it fits really greatly. Down here we have their Massive Passive. This is their mastering edition, so everything is stepped, which makes my life so much easier for recalls, and it's not as aggressive as the mixing version of this unit. And I love the fact that I can quickly boost, cut, or zero out each of these bands. All in all, this is pretty much a pool tech on steroids, I should say. The other really cool rig that I wanted to put together over here, it's this little switcher that allows me to switch in between 4 different HDMI sources. They can be cameras or program material coming off the computer. It scales them down to whatever I need to scale them down, and I can also stream it all live just with the USB connections. This allows me to basically switch in between different cameras, bring in effects, do picture-in-picture, and everything can be monitored through a computer or an external monitor itself. Another really important piece that powers every single studio nowadays, it's 2020, you gotta have a really powerful computer. So this guy has plenty of CPU, tons of RAM, SSDs. This is gonna be pretty much foolproof for the next 5 or 6 years. We have 3 of these satellites in the studio that allows us to use universal audio plugins without having to stress any of our internal CPUs. This is all from the updates of 2020 store revamping. We have some really exciting new pieces of gear that I'm about to start reviewing in the next weeks. So just stay tuned, because you're gonna be seeing all of this in use in the sessions from RedStone Productions. Stay tuned.